Hi, and welcome to Season 10, Episode 2 of My Words Our Journey, When Ink Doesn't Run. I'm Monty, your host and author. Enjoy the journey as we continue today with Chapter 8, Believe. The lake is 315 miles of shoreline, with almost 110,000 acres. They're made up of beautiful rolling farm hills, marshes, and river valley landscapes. It's a great place to live, raise a family, and enjoy all the outdoor activities. It is also the home to many alligators, so one must be careful. Ink had been reading a book he found left at one of the beaches. Ink was careful. He had acquired boots during his travels. He carried a long stick that he had sharpened to the end of the point. He did his best to stay in areas that were cut regularly, and even then, not close to the taller grass and weeds on the outlying areas. He also carried a large fishing knife, but he had read, sometime in the past. For the most part, they were big chickens, noise and a lot of body movements, and most would move on. Snakes and people were probably higher on his list of threats than gators, but life had just made him careful, overall anyways. The hike from his original tree to the treehouse wasn't all that far for someone that liked to walk a lot anyways, but after a few days after the news article actually, he decided to move in. Less of a chance of encountering snakes, gators, or people. And a chance to learn more about the voice. He had no way of knowing what the voice meant, wanted, or let's be honest, was even real. He could be having a nervous breakdown, but whatever was going on, he was up for it. He would have to remind himself of that later, more than once. Prayer had become an even more important part of his life. He was not sure if he was praying for wisdom, the voice to come back or not come back. It changed like the wind. Today, he wanted to hear the voice again. He was curious, and he had convinced himself that he wasn't crazy, so there must be another explanation. He would wait another 4 days before his prayer was answered. Ink was up early, at one of the beaches, washing his favorite shorts before the campers and locals invaded the space. Believe. One word, as if she was standing next to him. For the first time, Ink spoke back. I do believe. How can I help? No reply, as if he was alone again. The walk back to the treehouse was hurried. He'd spent too much time sitting on the sand wondering what was happening to him. Now he could only think about getting back. When he was back, had sat down and caught his breath, he noticed a single piece of paper lying face down on the floor. He hadn't left it there. Turning it over, it was an ad for one of the RV parks. Carolina Kingstop and Fish RV Park. Weird name, he thought. Go, the voice spoke. Ink looked around. Go. So, he slipped his shoes back on, grabbed the paper and his backpack, and off he went. He had asked for the voice to come back, and clearly, it was a one-sided relationship so far. So, he would go. Chapter 9, The RV Park. By the time he got to the park, it was wide awake. The smell of breakfast, the buzzing of the adults and children happened to be on vacation. Ink was not sure where he was supposed to go, so he would make his way around the place until the voice or something told him he was in the right spot. It took 40 minutes to walk the grounds. A few things had caught his attention. A shiny grill almost as big as the treehouse. A golf cart, made to look like a race car. But nothing that caused the voice to return. He walked through the game room and then the main office, which was also the general store. Nothing other than what you'd expect at a busy RV park. It was then that he decided he should take advantage of a clean bathroom while he was there. There was a board on the wall between the women's and men's room. On it were local events, calendars, dining coupons, that sort of thing. Again, nothing that made him go, that's it. But above the board, now there was something. A plaque, not large but medium. On it a picture of a lovely family, and the words below it, original owners of this fine park, the Stenton family. There were 4 framed pictures below. Everyone looked so happy in the pictures. Ink knew that wouldn't last. He wondered how long it was after the last picture was taken that the tragedy happened. The voice with a shout, 6 years! He was caught off guard. When he looked around, no one was looking in his direction. It had no effect on anyone, at least. Was it all in his head? He forgot about the bathroom and made his way out the front door. What's going on? Why the voice? Why the papers? Why me? The voice, you are not crazy. Ink sighed. Sure, I'm not crazy. Just hearing voices in my head. The voice, go, sit, under, shade tree, entrance. Ink had seen the large tree when he walked in. He thought it was a weeping willow. Sitting in the shade felt good, if not for the current situation, maybe even relaxing. Then the voice made it interesting. Red. Ink didn't understand. Then a minute later, blue. Still he had no idea. A short time later, black. Then he caught on. Okay, show me. Then red. The next vehicle to enter the exit. The park was red, then white, and sure enough, a truck turned, slowly passing by. It was white. The voice correctly identified the colors of the vehicles exiting and entering the park for the next several minutes. Finally, Ink had to say, okay, I truly believe. That night he slept well, at peace with the voice, somehow knowing the adventure he was part of, big or small, was important. Chapter 10. Who? Me? The following morning, Ink sat with half a breakfast bar. He was having to ration. The food was running out. He didn't have a plan just yet, but he knew he couldn't steal. He also knew there was a lot of wasted food in any and all of the trash cans around the park and the beaches. It was just different now than it was when he was hitchhiking south. This was his home. He really believed that, and he didn't want to think about eating from cans and dumpsters into his old age. It was then that he heard the voice for the first time since the previous day under the tree. Go back. 2 simple words that meant nothing to him. Go back where? He said out loud, as he was debating going ahead and eating his dinner portion of the bar. Back, the voice said louder. Either she was a girl of few words or there was something else going on. Ink was rarely the smartest in the room, but he was also never the dumbest. Okay, this isn't working. Let me try this, he said out loud. Do you want my help? Yes. Is there a reason you only use 1 or 2 words at a time? Yes. Great, he thought. Okay. Go back to the tree? No. Back to Pennsylvania? No. The RV park? Yes. Then why didn't you just say RV park? Less than an hour later, Ink was standing in front of the double doors that kept the cool air inside from escaping. He really wanted the coolness on his face, but more than that, he really wanted a drink. Coke, Sprite, orange soda, tea. He didn't care. He just wanted that cool feeling on his face and down his throat. From behind, Ink was snapped out of his wanting stare. When he looked around, he saw a lady, 3 kids, a dog, and groceries spread around her feet. Ink could tell that the woman was frazzled. As he moved over, said hi, rubbed the underside of the happy dog's chin, and then began to pick up items. Hi. Again, my name is Ink, and I'll be happy to help if that's okay. Sure, the mom said. Great. Did you walk or drive? We walked. We're staying at lot 37. Had the only yellow awning. Okay. I'll be right behind you. Ink took the items and placed them back in the bags. Nothing had broken, items or bags. She had just had her hands too full. Something had to give. With 3 bags in his hand, he walked back out into the heat. He did not know the layout of the park, but he could see the family only a short distance in front of him. So, he followed. And sure enough, they had their bright yellow awning. Ink wanted to know if it glowed in the dark, but he wasn't going to offend anyone by asking. A few minutes later, he was back by the general store. This time he wasn't going to go in. He was just going to pass. He didn't need to be reminded of what he couldn't afford. A nice swim. That would cure what ailed him. He hears someone coming up behind him calling, "Young man! Young man! Yes, you! Can we talk a minute?" "Who? Me?" "Thank you so much for helping Mrs. Phillips. That was really nice of you. Why'd you do that, if I may ask?" "Why wouldn't I?" was Ink's honest answer. The young lady could not help but laugh. "I see. Well, that's the best answer I could have thought of. Did Mrs. Phelps offer you a tip for your services?" "Yes, ma'am, $3, but I couldn't take it." "And why is that? And please don't say, 'Why would I?'" she said with a smile. "Because I didn't do it for anything in return. It was just one person being nice to another." "Do you live around here?" "Close, yes." Crazy question, but would you like a job? Doesn't pay great, but every 3 hours you'll get one drink or one snack. And you can also keep your tips. A few minutes later, Ink was walking back to the treehouse with a yoo-hoo in his right hand and some beef jerky in his left. Nancy, his new boss, had insisted he pick a couple items as her way of saying thank you. Nancy had explained they had lost a coworker recently. They'd had a hard time finding the right person to hire. So tomorrow morning at 7:30, Ink would be stocking shelves, replenishing drinks, and helping customers like Mrs. Phelps. He'd make $20 cash per day. His drink and snack privileges, plus any tips he made. Ink was on cloud 9. A job. He had a job. Chapter 11. I want to be a camper. Ink was wearing his cleanest shorts, sneakers, and t-shirt. He had laid awake thinking about all the things he'd do with his new salary. He really wanted Nancy to be glad she had hired him. He had tried to communicate with the voice, but she either wasn't there or she was watching in silence. Why had she sent him back to the general store? Could she possibly have known what would happen, how it would play out? How much did a 10-speed cost? All very important questions he had been pondering. The store was already busy when he walked in. Campers like to get up bright and early, it seemed. His new boss, Nancy, was helping someone with a large bag of specialty dog food. Ink moved in, smiled, and said, "I can do that, Miss Nancy." The rest of his day was filled with him moving stock, running something to a camper for various reasons. Ink learned fast that Miss Nancy did not like to say no, so when a guest asked, she tried her best to say yes, or the occasional, "Let me see what I can do." Around lunchtime, she asked Ink to take a bottle of aspirin to lot 83. When Ink got there, a large man with even a larger laugh was grilling hot dogs. He had all the fixings setting out and a large pitcher of lemonade. Ink thought, "I want to be a camper someday." The camper with the headache and the hot dogs was named Merkel, so he and Ink bonded over unusual names right away. 3 hot dogs and 2 glasses of lemonade later, Ink said he'd better get back before Miss Nancy came looking for him. The nice man welcomed him back any time. Again, Ink thought, "I want to be a camper one day." The rest of his first day went fine. He really did not realize just how tired he was until he sat down. Replaying the day, he felt good about what he had done. He felt he had helped people. He helped him have a better day, and that made him happy. The voice had not spoken to him the whole day. He had no idea what she would say or ask of him next. He fell asleep with a camp calendar on his chest. Ink slept well until his alarm went off at 6:30. The idea of going to work made him happy, even before he opened his eyes. Maybe he would find a reason to be at Mr. Merkel's around lunchtime. When he sat up, he thought he wasn't alone for the briefest of moments. It was a feeling, more than anything. Then he heard the voice outside. It was not the voice of his new friend. Chapter 12. Haunting. The voices were not directly under him, but they were certainly in the backyard. A man and possibly 2 women, and at least a couple of kids giggling and laughing. He was going to get caught. There was no way the kids wouldn't find their way up the tree. The voice spoke for the first time in a while. You are safe here. Ink lay flat on the wood floor, peeking through one of the slats that had a larger separation than some of the others. He could see the family walking around the back of the home. One of the women, she was probably trying to sell the place. Out of nowhere, one of the roof shingles came flying down, almost hitting one of the children, missed by only a couple of feet. The man turned in all directions, trying to figure out what happened. The mom had scooped up her babies and was heading around the side of the home. Another black piece of the roof went over their heads, hit an old car that was sitting there. The noise was loud, and the sight was almost funny, the way the rust and dust stirred after years of neglect. That was it. The lady and the family could not get to their cars fast enough. Ink checked the time, had to get ready. He took a deep breath, gathered himself, and started to smell his clothes, checking for the ones that smelled the least. He really needed some laundry soap, he thought. Then he heard the words again. You are safe here. He said all he could think to say. Thank you. And then without thinking, he asked, Are you Grace or Sybil? There was a pause as he sniffed another shirt, an old AC/DC, black tee he had found. Still good condition, just a small tear around the collar. Then, Grace, with a sad tone. He pulled the article out of his hiding place, studied it briefly. Then, I'm sorry this happened to you. Help me make it right. The most she had said to him at one time. I will. I'll do my best. Not running, but walking quickly, he headed to work. He wondered if Grace went with him. He thought she did, for some reason. She may even be listening to his thoughts. He had thought about how pretty she was. Had she been listening then? Ugh. Well, I think that's a good place for us to stop today. I hope you're enjoying the journey as we learn more about Ink and Grace. Next time, we'll be introduced to another key figure in the story. Have a great day, and thank you for listening.